Welcome, Council of Governors meeting. You should have all the papers and agenda and papers. I think it's fairly straightforward, but we've got, of course, a private session at the end to discuss Ned's appointments and remuneration. So let me welcome you. I think we all know each other, so I don't think there's anyone. Jodie Holtman is going to be presenting, so we'll say hello in a minute. Apologies for absence, Julie.
Yeah, I've got apologies from John Jarvis, Deborah Alcock-Tyler, and Guy Dakin.
Okay, thanks so much. Declarations of interest? Yep, okay. Minutes of the last formal meeting of Council of Governors, that's the 6th of December. Any corrections, please? Okay. There's a matter arising, which I think Graham was particularly interested in. We've got a reply. Graham, I didn't understand the reply. You may, but I don't know whether it's satisfied you.
I understand the reply, but I don't necessarily agree with it.
Oh, right.
According, as I read it, this is saying that, for example, in 2000, and it says at the time of the report we share, well, I don't know where you're getting your data from, because as far as I know, the most recent data is the 2011 census. I don't think there's any other data you can really rely on since then. And according to what I've read, if you take white population, for example, the 2011 census, I think, says there was in Berkshire, there was a 73.1% white population. And BME, according to the data I've got, is 24.5. So if I'm correct about those numbers, our white workforce is below the white population of Berkshire, and our BME workforce is above the white, which isn't what this response is saying. Now, I'm perfectly happy with those numbers. I just challenge I'm not challenging the idea that we should be employing we should be employing anyone who can work for us with the right skill set. Doesn't, to my mind, the ethnicity doesn't matter in a sense. I'm not one for positive discrimination, but I do think that my reading of these numbers is that we have a higher BME workforce than is reflected in the general population of Berkshire, and a lower white workforce than is reflected in the general population of Berkshire. I make no particular point about it. I just question the figures.
All right. Would you be happy if we just let it lie?
Yeah, absolutely happy. I disagree with the numbers, but leave it there. Yeah. I mean, the numbers are the numbers.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for that anyway. And I think we're broadly representative of Berkshire.
Oh yes, I think we do pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to item 5 then. Jodie. Do you want to introduce yourself? And Jodie's going to do a few slides and then a chance for questions, particularly about the role of allied health professionals, which I think often we always talk about nurses and doctors. We don't quite often talk so much about AHPs. So Jodie, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Martin, and hi everybody. Some of you I know through the Quality Assurance Group, and I asked Julie if I could come and observe this meeting really to understand the wider context, and she suggested that if I was in the room it might also be nice to share with you some of the work that we do as allied health professions within the Trust, and give you a chance to ask me any questions. So that's the context. I'm going to share some slides, hopefully. And we won't dwell too long. I wanted to look, I can't see you. So the other thing is, do feel free if you want to ask a question as we're going along, please feel free to interject and I'll try and answer it as we're going. Is that sharing okay? I'm assuming so because I can't see everybody. Yep, fabulous. So the first thing to really say is, and some of this will be stuff that and information you already know, that there's 14 official AHPs, allied health professions, and the reason I'm saying it is I'm a real advocate for the fact that each one brings something different into the Trust. So although we lump people together as allied health professions, actually it's really important that we see the individuality of each professional group as well. We're fortunate enough we've got 8 of the professions represented within Berkshire in a variety of teams across the Trust, which I'll go through a bit further on. Most of them regulated by the HCPC, so one of my roles is to support people that are going through investigation or raising concerns with that regulatory body. Also the Osteopathic Council and the Social Work Council for England. So who works for us? Back in 2021, we did a national project for allied health professions across the country, looking at actually the registered and non-registered workforce. The graph there is from that, and apologies for the typo of whole-time equivalent. Since then, we've actually had an increase in both our registered and non-registered workforce. And it's really, really important to consider the non-registered workforce, because I think moving forward, we're going to be seeing a higher number of that workforce grow. And actually, we should be looking at skill mix every time we're recruiting. We know there's significant workforce challenges for allied health professions, so it's just important that we understand the context of that. For me, actually, it's quite a low number of non-registered workforce, so it's something that we're looking at internally, just within teams and as a registered workforce, how we can support people, but then also support people moving on to potentially become registered if they would like to. These are some of the teams where we work. It's really just an infographic to look at the diversity of the teams across all the different services and divisions that we have. The teams within scheduled care have their own service manager that retain professional leadership. And the reason I'm mentioning that is I'm going to touch on professional leadership for the other teams, where the AHPs very much sit as integrated part of the team. But there's a massive range of roles that are available. And then we also have AHPs working in roles that are not in clinical teams. So these are some of the other roles that we have. And it really is to sing the praises of Berkshire Healthcare. I joined from a local acute trust, and the opportunities for allied health professions to grow and develop within this organisation are phenomenal. To see divisional leads and even exec members that are allied health professions is brilliant, and really celebrates the ethos of the trust in supporting everybody within its organisation to develop and grow. I thought really helpful just to quickly say our career pathway is very, very similar to that of other healthcare professions, nurses especially. These are different routes in. You might join us as a support worker or as a student, or even come in through school doing a T-level or some work experience. And then hopefully the plan is that we will keep you and grow you and support you to develop to become a qualified registered professional with us, and then move on to advanced practice, supporting all the way. And a lot of the work that the professional leads do is around supporting that access in, looking at the diversity at the moment of that access in, and working with our local higher education institutes to make sure that actually we're supporting them with clinical placements and the growth that's outlined in the long-term plan. So within Berkshire Healthcare, we've got a really well-established professional leadership structure. And the reason that I wanted to mention it is that I know it's less established in perhaps acute trusts. It's very much people of the same profession manage their profession, so retain professional leadership. But for us, this is really important when our AHPs are sitting in teams that are often managed by someone of a different profession, that they still have a structure that is overseeing the quality of governance of that professional group. And that's really where that professional leadership part comes in. Hopefully we're working in collaboration with our divisional directors and service managers, and we're kind of the critical friend for each professional group, understanding the quality, understanding the training, understanding the needs of each professional group, and can relay that and work with them services in the development of whatever it is that they're needing to do. I also wanted to touch on something that's a bit of an anomaly for the allied health professions, and that's our AHP faculties. I put a link in case people aren't aware of what the faculties do. It's a link to the King's Fund video, which explains it far better than I ever could. But it's this interface then with NHS England, the regional teams and our local systems to implement the AHP strategy, the national AHP strategy from NHS England. We've got really, really good working relationships within both systems within the faculties. Each system has got a chief AHP that I work with and we do peer support with. And the strength of it is the economy of scale for these smaller professional groups where we don't have the volume potentially that actually if we go together, we can achieve far more, whether that be through education, supporting placements, quality, etc. So I just referenced the Chief AHP office from the National Office. They came and updated their national strategy last year with the key areas of focus. And so what we've actually done, I'm not going to talk through this in detail, it is readily available. But what's really interesting is that the backdrop of this strategy is the co-production and anti-racism. So actually then when I align that with our trust strategies, it fits really nicely with the work that we're trying to do. So then last year, what we did is we localized that. We took the plan. I just summarized. There's really key things on improving the health outcomes for people, sustainability, quality and innovation. So all very much things that we're looking at within the trust. We've got then developed our own local trust strategy. And again, this is complementing existing strategies. It isn't to say we are doing something different to the rest of the organisation. It's very much integrated, but looking at actually the contribution that allied health professions can make, but also then if there's specific pieces of work that we wanted to take forward. So such as the anti-racism work, working with Alex Guild and the 5 streams around that. And the key areas then we're looking at developing at the moment, or actually, sorry, that's crossed over itself. It was in columns and it's uncolumned. But we're looking at preceptorship, support workforce, return to practice. We've done a lot of work on internationally educated recruitment, working within the NHS framework of ethically recruiting people. Podiatry have seen really great results. I love looking at them as a model because they've used both the internationally educated recruits and apprenticeships to support their workforce, which prior to that was struggling. Apprenticeships I've mentioned. We are now just finalising speech and language therapy apprenticeships, but we have apprenticeships therefore running in the 5 major allied health professions that we have within the organisation. And the great news is that we retained 100% of the people that have qualified so far. We're looking at undergraduate and postgraduate courses, working with new local providers. So Bucks New University, we've been involved in the development of their occupational therapy programme and their physiotherapy programme, advising from a clinical perspective on it, and looking at the clinical placement expansion that's required, again, to meet that long-term plan ambition. And then internally for our own staff, looking at the career progression. What is advanced clinical practice? Where do we have opportunities for leadership? And as I mentioned, really checking and seeing whether we are giving fair access to those opportunities for everybody that we employ, supporting people from underrepresented backgrounds or ethnic groups to actually be able to step up and move into roles that they might like and work across the organisation. So that's it in a nutshell. I promised Martin I wouldn't take too long. I hope that was okay. Bit of a whistle-stop tour. But is there anything anybody would like to ask me while I'm here?
Jodie, I'm sure that first, thank you very much for that. It was perfect. We got just a nice flavour. So over to Govenors. Any points of clarification? Tom Lake.
So very much like to hear what music therapists might be able to do. I remember when on World Mental Health Day, they had a choir down at Slough, and Jeff, what's the name, used to be very keen on that. And just I wonder, is there any opportunity for bringing music therapy in? I would advocate we could have drama therapy for the board. We make it much more exciting, but let's look at music therapy in the general sense.
I'm a real advocate for music therapy. I'm a frustrated music therapist, Tom. That's eventually when I started out to train, I was going to become a music therapist, and I got stuck doing occupational therapy and loved doing the activity generally. There's arguments for having all of them, actually. You're absolutely right. And different clinical groups will use each of the professions in a different way. So I think for music therapy, we use it in pockets of it. Working with patients with dementia, for example, is that we bring groups in, tend to on our community health wards a little bit more. So if we've got a special event happening, if there was the coronation, etc., then we might bring a music group in. And it is about that reminiscence, that sense of familiarity that brings a sense of well-being. It can be used in all sorts of ways. I could go on about it. I won't do. But, you know, with children, we can use it, actually hook it up to equipment. So we're actually getting physical movement from it and eliciting a physical response to a sensory input, which is also really, really powerful motivator for therapeutic intervention.
Thank you, Jodie. Thank you, Tom. Ros.
Thanks, Judy. That was very interesting and helpful to know more about AHPs. And I've just got a comment in case people aren't aware. A local charity that I'm a trustee of, Sport in Mind, has just taken on 2 OT apprenticeship students on a placement with the charity as part of their training through the trust, and I think that's another great step forwards, that they're getting to experience other areas outside the trust. So I think it's moving forwards in a great way. Thanks.
Thanks, Ros. Ian Gemmer, I think.
Yeah, just a quick question on one of your slides, which was basically showing the career progression.
Yeah.
There was 2 things at the bottom, T levels and I can't remember the other one, but they didn't seem to have a path forward.
And I think, yeah, I can talk. So the T levels is a relatively new entry point for us. In my mind, they're sort of replacing the BTEC qualification. So at that A level coming in, and we would hope that if someone's been on a T-level placement, we could then recruit them into an associate support worker role with a view to then taking on an apprenticeship potentially with us, if that's what they choose to. We also acknowledge not everybody wants to do a qualification. Some people want to come and work in healthcare without doing that, and actually looking at the development. So we've got quite an extensive training package for people that don't want to necessarily go on and become a registered professional, but actually just want to work, become an associate practitioner, working with HAE, very much looking at that training and development piece around it. So there isn't a formal route at the moment, but what I think we are moving towards is having that conversation with people when they're coming in to explore what profession they may want to work alongside, or would they rather just be in an inpatient unit or within the mental health services, for example. So that's kind of on an individual basis. The work experience very much the same, looking at what the national offer is for work experience. Often people will come to us because they're at school age and they don't know what careers are even available. So for me at that level, it's about exposing people to the opportunities that there are to train, having a conversation with them and supporting them in that decision-making process. We've got an early careers I don't know what to call her, a person, worker that goes in and does all the school fairs. So we work with her very much. Actually, we'll partner up with her, go into the schools fairs with her, have a conversation with people, because people won't have heard of half of those professional groups. And, you know, people don't know what an occupational therapist is unless you've had involvement with one, probably. So it's really about that exposure, supporting people, having those conversations that can actually hopefully then steer them towards us if that's what they choose and that's the best fit for them.
Yeah, I think that for me, there's kind of two important things there. One is absolutely explain to people the multiplicity of roles. It's not doctor or nurse.
Yeah.
You know, it's all of these other things. And the other thing, personally, I tend to feel that there's an overemphasis on the degree route in healthcare. And I think a lot of people, that's not the way they learn. And so bringing people through hands-on experience, trying out different things, and then nestling into a role, and you know, and probably achieving a lot for themselves and for the people they're caring for. So I think that developing that route, I think, for me, seems to be really important.
Yeah. And what we know is that actually the quality of our clinicians when they've done the apprenticeship route is really, really high. I'm very keen to keep them because we've invested 4 years, but they have also been investing for 4 years for us. And actually we know that the quality of clinical skill that we get, the soft skills that they have, is superior to people that have come out on 3 placements, which is the other route. It's just not the same exposure at all. So I'm absolutely agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. James.
Hello, I'm not sure if you can hear me because I'm experiencing some technical issues.
No, we can hear you.
Oh, great. So yes, Jody, I thought it was a really interesting, it's an interesting project and a very interesting presentation, because I've always thought that the arts in general, whether it's the visual ones or the performing ones, are a great potential source of have a great therapeutical capability. And I personally, having experienced in my teens a lot of anxiety and depression, I used to do, you know, just for fun, perform by myself Shakespearean soliloquies. I never thought I'd be on stage, but actually for the last 30 years, I've actually performed a lot, but a lot of amateur dramatics in different parts of the world, in historical places, from Reading Abbey ruins to the Jamestown original settlement in Virginia. And that's something that I think what I'd like to ask is, do you actually have something also within the performing arts? Because I think performing can be, you know, a great way of fighting your anxiety, being in front of people, sometimes hundreds of those. And also when you are living a particular character's experience, also allows you sometimes get in touch with emotions maybe you're not so much allowed yourself to experience or deal with. So I was also interested in knowing about that side of performing arts.
Yeah. So it's something I'm less familiar with. We don't have drama therapists working with the organisation currently. Again, it would be something that we would bring in if there was a specific project or a client group we wanted to work to. We do have art therapists working with the organisation. And again, they sit actually under our psychological therapy services and under Bridget Gamel rather than myself, because although they're an allied health profession, what we know from many mental health trusts is that they actually align a lot more with the psychological interventions that happen. So our family specialists will use that, for example. But what we will do is perhaps use it in an informal way. The occupational therapist will basically get to know, both from mental health and in our physical health settings, we'll get to know someone and what is their meaningful occupation, what is it that actually is something that is going to add value for them, and we'll try and work, and it is more within the mental health aspects. You're right, that anxiety, working with people to be able to express things that actually otherwise might be difficult for them to express. It is a real skill, so we're very careful to not go beyond the scope within that, and it does need, actually, if we were going to go down the therapeutic route, it would need to be within the remit of a proper, you know, the governance needs to be in place for people's safety, and again, as I say, probably therefore more aligned with our psychological therapies, but we do touch on it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, and I thought it would definitely be more on the mental health side of things. And I was thinking, for example, because I work with 2 or 3 theatre professional groups here in Reading, and they do have workshops for both adults and children, and maybe it's you know, there's the scope there for some kind of collaboration.
Could be really interesting, and it's a bit like sport in mind. I think what we do know now is that, or what we're acknowledging from a wider healthcare delivery perspective, is we need to partner with those wider organisations and actually integrate and a signpost to it. I think I would suspect that our social prescribers in the community are actually working with those groups and hopefully enabling people to access them, because definitely a benefit without a doubt.
Certainly.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jodie.
Thanks, James. Last one, Babs.
Thanks, Jodie. I'm the Governor representative for the University of Reading, so I just wanted to chip in a bit about the speech and language therapy, because we train obviously there, and just to make people aware, if they're not aware, that the university does have a research clinic for children and adults, which is a free service that I'm the Director of Clinical Governance for. One of the problems we have is placements. So because you only have, I think it's less than 100, isn't it? You were saying there in your graph, less than 100 kind of speech and language therapists working around Berkshire. We have to go quite far afield to place our students. It's pretty hard work for us to try and find the offering, so that they need to shadow, and they need to have preceptorship, and they need to be carefully monitored and supervised. So that's a real challenge for us, but it is also an additional offer. Then our plan to find a way around that was to set up our own research clinic, so that our research clinic is also a big placement provider in itself for speech and language therapy students. So I just want to kind of mention that, remind people that is also an offer for residents of Berkshire. The other point I just wanted to make was when you did have the inpatient adolescent unit in Berkshire, Willow House, of course, they had quite a lot of creative therapies there. So that closed last year before? So there was music therapy, art therapy, drama therapy, were all available until a couple of years ago in Berkshire.
Thanks so much, Babs. Okay, Jodie, thank you very much. We'll let you stand down from that. Many thanks. Very interesting, as you can tell. We have to move on, unfortunately. So we're now on to item 6, which is the committee steering group reports, membership and public engagement. Sarah, did you wish to highlight anything from?
That's not me on membership. If it was to me, Martin, sorry, I'm on quality assurance.
I said, sorry, I meant quality assurance. Sorry, the papers are different. The papers are different order than the agenda, but I'm sorry. Can we do you, Sarah, quality assurance?
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry. Yeah, and I did notice a spelling mistake in there. It's probably thrown people actually with complaint and compliant are very similar when you spell them. I didn't read it properly, so apologies for that one. I will highlight that straight away. Just wanted to acknowledge, obviously, John's not been very well, and I just wanted to obviously acknowledge that and just wish him a speedy recovery around, his journey. As a result of which I chaired my first QAG meeting, 2 weeks ago now. So I mean, in there, do you want me to highlight through the report, or has everyone read the report?
It's a very clear report. Thank you, Sarah. If there's anything you particularly wanted to pull out, otherwise we'll just ask governors if they have any comments.
Yeah, the only thing I probably would pull out is one of the things I'm keen to do is where we're lining up on the patient experience reports and the other reports coming through is identify those services that we think probably should need a review or a service visit based on the fact they're either really performing incredibly well and looking at where we can leverage those services across the different places, whether that's west and east, or services where it looks like there's complaints coming through or there's feedback in there, so that we can highlight those for as priority for service visits where they haven't been visited before.
That's fine. Thank you very much. No other questions? No. Thank you, Sarah, for chairing. Thank you very much. Brian, membership, and see if we can get it the right way around now.
Just a couple of minor points. I use my report in a more general sense to encourage attendance at subcommittee meetings. Since the turn of the year, numbers have dropped a bit in the subcommittee meetings. So I would welcome, where possible, of course, and it is a matter of choice, people attending the subcommittee meetings, because it is such a rich vein of additional information and experience for governors. It's well worthwhile. And the other thing for membership and public engagement, which we will hope to roll out further in the coming months, is constituency governors looking around their neighbourhood virtually and finding opportunities to assist in bolstering the membership numbers where they are underrepresented in certain key demographics within the overall membership.
Okay, thank you. Graham.
Just a very straightforward comment that the reason I didn't attend is because it wasn't on the 31st of January. It was, so far as I'm told, it was on the 30th, and Tuesday mornings are out for me because I do a walking group. But there you go. I thought just in case anyone takes the point on the dates.
Okay, thanks so much, Graham. Who's next? Is there another? Oh, James.
I think I've unmuted myself now.
Oh,
yes, I just want
okay.
to say I did try to attend the meeting the other week. I think it was last week, because I did receive an email a few months ago saying there was a meeting on that day. But after 15 minutes, getting a message that I was in the lobby and someone would let me in, but no one did. So I gave up. I'm not sure if I got the wrong link or something.
Okay, we'll take that on board. Sarah.
Yes, just a quick question. You mentioned around the service, the underrepresentation across them of the constituencies. Are you able to give us an outline of the ones that need membership driving on them, so that we're aware of which ones those are?
Yes, I've got that. Again, I can dig up an old piece of work of mine, and it's matched by what Marcoms are identifying as well. So it's a half a dozen or so groups within the membership.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Tom.
Okay, about the dates, I mean, it's just confusing because we get cancellations and we get these notices with attached ICS files which have to be put into something. Now, Paul Myerscough and I started using a Google Calendar, which anyone can subscribe to if they care to use Google Calendar, and introduce the dates. And we tried to we did at one point ask the office to put the dates on, and they said it was too difficult. I don't know why it's too difficult. It's better for one person to do it than for sort of everybody else to have to do it. But I think perhaps we could have another try at that. But really, it would be far better for people if we did have a single calendar that everybody could subscribe to introduce into their own calendar and see all the meetings and changes and so on. And then we would have a bit less confusion, I think. I've often had confusion about links and so on, and had to email Julie or Jennifer in emergency.
Okay, Tom. Well, again, we'll take that on board, and perhaps we can, outside the meeting, we can just see what we can do. Brian.
Yes, Julie's put a helpful note in the chat. We need to approve the terms of reference for the QAG.
Ah. Where did we find?
It's on page 29, if that helps. Sorry, I apologise. I should have mentioned that. Thank you for picking that up, Brian and Julie.
So it's page 29, and it's got the responsibilities and terms of reference. Anyone not content? Graham?
It's not that I'm not content. I just question the membership description because I'm unclear as to who is a member of what committee, subcommittee, whatever. I had understood that basically all governors are members of all committees, so they're all welcome to turn up if they want to. But so I haven't actually seen a list of the bodies and the membership of those bodies, and I therefore, to some extent, don't know which ones I'm on if I'm on any of them.
Yeah, I think I mean maybe something a bit detailed here, but my instinct is that all governors should be completely free to join any of the groups, because then we don't get sort of factions and we get everything exposed. And the ones that want to turn up. We need someone who sort of convenes the group, chairs or whatever it is, to make sure we have an agenda. But I think I'm rather in favour of everyone being a member of everything if they wish to. But someone may have a different view. But if someone feels strong about it, perhaps we could discuss outside the meeting or a private session. I'm pretty relaxed, but I just think the more open it is, the better. That's all. Any other comments? So the only thing
Could I suggest an amendment then to the first paragraph under membership, which is that all governors are welcome to be members of the, or something, words to that effect.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Graham.
Okay, let's go with that then. Thank you very much, Graham, for that. Okay, living life to the full.
We've now we've met. I'm very pleased.
Sorry,
to say
apologies for interrupting, but don't we have to actually formally agree these terms of reference? We haven't actually. Have we agreed them? I'm not certain.
Well, I did it in the negative. Did anyone object to them? Because it's much easier to do the negative online than it is positive.
True.
So no one objected. So it's apart from you and helpful comment, we've done that. So it's passed. Living life to the full, if I may, then, Tom.
Yeah, sure. So Madeline Diver has agreed to take over the chair of the group, which is terrific. And she's in Tasmania, in the wilds of Tasmania, or something. So when she comes back, I hope the group will formalise that. We've now heard from the youth.
I am actually here, Tom.
Oh, hello. Well, yes, thank you very much. And where are you? Where is here?
I'm in Perth, Australia.
Oh, Perth. Oh, back to civilization. Great. Oh, well, it sounds wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. So I hope we'll formalise that when we have our next meeting. We heard from number 5 of youth counselling service with another of these voluntary organisations that has a really impressive workload and really service. So I've tried to pass these on. We have heard from recovery colleges, we heard from Sport in Mind, Support You, now number 5, and we've heard from the Trust Zone Community Mental Health to try and get an idea of what's happening over the boundaries and across the boundaries. And so I think I've tried to pass on what I've learned from this committee over some years. So I hope that's been useful. So you can read about number 5, and I think it is very impressive. We had Katie Humphrey's carers report, and I would suggest that down in the autumn that we asked for a report from Katie on the carers strategy to the formal Council of Governors, because it seemed to be going, with really strongly, with strong management support. There's a large dashboard for management to work on. Services are self-assessing now, and the trust seemed to be aiming at level 3 and so on eventually. So it's doing a great job, and it was an impressive report. We struggled for time, but it was really very, very impressive. So thank you very much, and I think that's it.
Okay. Any questions for Tom? Okay, let's move on then to, thank you, Tom. Let's move on to item 7 then, the executive reports. Liz, patient experience. Are you there, Liz?
Hello, yes, I'm here. Good morning, everybody.
I think if you take the report as read, but if there might be 1 or 2 things you just want to bring out, and then governor's questions, I think.
Of course, I have prepared some very brief slides with some overviews.
Okay,
but
that's all right. Go on.
Are you sure? I don't want to take up too much time. Okay, thank you. Okay. So hopefully you can all see my slides.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so you will have seen in the report, this is our overview of patient experience, and this is included at the front of all of our patient experience reports. It gives that overarching view of all of our patient experience metrics that we capture. You'll note in there specifically that the number of compliments has gone up over the previous quarter. That's not unexpected because we did have the Christmas period and the season of goodwill hits us, and we do get lots more compliments during that time of year. And we did also see an increase in the number of formal complaints received, however, and I will go into slightly more detail about that shortly. I Want Great Care. So this is our patient experience measuring tool. Things that we've done particularly well during Q3 are around tailoring care to meet patients' needs, respecting individuals' needs, offering emotional support and the empathy shown by staff, and having joined up care. Areas and opportunities for improvement included communication, involving patients' family members and carers, and the timeliness and availability of staff and services. So what are we doing about the results that we're getting, and how are we supporting services? So we have a targeted action plan that the team work through. For Q3, 64% of all services set up on the I Want Great Care system received feedback. So we're working with those services that are not receiving any and understanding what the reason for that is. As part of that piece of work, we offer a trust-wide monthly troubleshooting drop-in online, a bit of a lunch and learn that staff can join and speak to members of the team and to each other. We're also introducing SMS, so text messaging, to our children, young people and family services. There's lots of governance around that we're working through at the moment, but that's going to make a really positive impact on the opportunity for particularly young people to give us their feedback. We have a rapid improvement event on the 16th of April. Again, that's trust-wide. We've got invitations to about 70 members of staff specifically that have gone out across the trust, and we're opening that out even wider. So this is an opportunity using a quality improvement methodology to really do a deep dive into some of the challenges and some of the successes with I Want Great Care and how we can support improvement. We're also looking at how we can offer hard copy of our surveys in alternative languages. And PALS, so Trevor Lal, is attending the ward community meetings at Prospect Park Hospital and collecting feedback there. We also use our data to support PCREF, so the Patient Carer Race Equality Framework, specifically around the streams for access, experience and outcomes. So the I Want Great Care data is really useful to inform some of those conversations and to see how we're doing. And we've strengthened our divisional reporting, and I'll show you an example of that at the end. Complaints and PALS. So just as an overview, CMHT showed the highest increase in formal complaints in Q3 compared to Q2. You can see it doubled. What I would say, however, is we had 3 complainants who came back more than once. So again, when you look at the numbers, it's important to look at some of the detail behind that, because we did have some repeat complainers during that time. We also saw an increase in the number of formal complaints found not to be upheld, and that was across all services. There was no specific area where we had an impact, but that's something that we're specifically monitoring. We had 3 complaints received from the CQC. The CQC have created the early resolution process, which is designed specifically to provide people who are detained under the Mental Health Act with a swift person-centred response to their complaints. So this is, within 24, 48 hours of us getting a complaint from the CQC from someone who is detained, we work with the service user, with the patient, their families and the wards to resolve that as quickly as possible. The Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman, they are our second stage in the formal complaints process. They've brought out something new, which is mediation. So in the past, they have taken on complaints and asked us for a full file, and then they'd make a decision on whether they would go to a full investigation. For certain cases now, they're going to be offering mediation, and we've had 1 request under that new process so far, which we've gone back and said, yes, we're happy to offer that and happy to be part of that. And we're just waiting for the complainant to confirm if they're also happy to do so. In terms of PALS activity for Q3, we had 385 PALS contacts about our organisation. In addition to that, we had 194 contacts that were nothing to do with this organisation at all. We offer a no wrong front door, so we will signpost people. We won't just say, you know, not us. We will look to be able to signpost people, because we recognise contacting PALS or complaints, you know, people need a swift response to that. And I'm attending the Governor Quality Assurance Group in May to give more of a presentation around PALS, what it does, what it doesn't do. Other activity that's ongoing at the moment, we have Work for Our Lived Experience Workforce programme. So this is supporting people into paid roles in the organisation as peer support workers, supporting us with strategy. There's a wide range of roles, and I'll be more than happy to arrange for one of our peer support workers to come to the Council of Governors to talk about what they do, if that would be helpful. We've got Ask, Listen, Do events coming up at the end of the month. That's part of an NHS England initiative to ensure that people with a learning disability have access to give feedback. So we're holding 2 listening into action style events later this month with Becky Chester, the lead learning disability nurse. 15 steps. So the dates for the next financial year will be coming out imminently. We'll be sending them around to Julie and asking that these are made available to you. So we're looking now to do them a year in advance, so because we appreciate how busy everybody is. We're doing lots of work around our patient safety partners. So this is again part of NHS England and the Patient Safety Incident Response Framework. We are actively recruiting people to be patient safety partners. There are 4 roles, from consultative to strategic. And again, I'll be attending the Governor Quality Assurance Group in May to go into more detail with Dan Badman. And finally, here's a copy of a new PPI divisional return that we are asking services to do. We recognise there's a lot of work happening in services, in divisions, that happens in silos. So from January, we've been asking services and divisions through their patient safety and quality meetings to capture that in this way and send it back to the patient experience team. That way we can not only celebrate what people are doing, we can also share that learning and also see if there's any duplication happening in the organisation that we can, you know, support with and join people up together. That was a whistle stop tour, because I'm mindful that you've already had the papers, but I felt they were important parts to pull out. I'm happy to take any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. That was perfect. Very good. Governor, questions, please, or comments. Brian.
A suggestion, if I may, Liz, for the May QAG. I've noticed in the last couple of weeks or so that there seems to have been a significant increase in the number of posts in social media for NHS Berkshire talking therapies. So when the May meeting comes around, could you take a look at the uplift in referrals that this campaign may have generated, and whether that has or has not had a positive or adverse effect on wait time?
I can absolutely look into that for you, Brian. I can work with the Talking Therapies management team and get you some information that we can present at that meeting.
That would be brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Sarah.
Yeah, thank you for that. One of the questions I've got is you mentioned the rapid improvement event on the 16th of April. Is that something that the governors could perhaps attend, or is there any opportunity for us to understand more around what that event might be?
Absolutely, more than welcome if people would like to attend that. I'm happy, Julie, to send across the invite if you're happy to circulate it on my behalf. So this is using quality improvement methodology to really drill down and understand what works well and what doesn't, and do it in a really targeted way. Because I Want Great Care is a big system, and there's lots of different ways that we can collect feedback. Some are more successful in some areas than others, and it's understanding, particularly from those services that aren't collecting any at all, what the challenges are. Is it people are worried about survey fatigue, for example? Is it that, you know, the iPads aren't working? It's really getting people in a safe space to be able to undo some of the issues that we've got. Sarah, just very, very briefly, you mentioned about looking at the patient experience report to identify services for visits. More than happy to kind of pull some out as well, if that would be helpful for you. just let me know, because obviously we see the more granular data that feeds into this report. So there's a few areas at the moment as part of the PCREF, so the Patient Care Race Equality Framework, that we're looking at. So I don't know if you'd want to dovetail into some of that work or not, but just let me know.
Yeah, please, that'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Sarah. Tom Leake.
Thank you, Jodie. There's just to say on Brian's point, I've observed that I think talking therapists don't report their waiting times in the waiting times report. So I don't know if that would be possible, but it's one of the services we don't see, I think. But you mentioned two things that I didn't know about, PCREF, and there's something on page 61, a service called Community _10. Perhaps it's a bunch of services, I don't know, but it's in the service categorization. Do you know what that, could you mention something about each of those?
So the Patient Safety Incident Response Framework, that's the NHS England new way that we are managing patient safety incidents in the across the NHS, not even just in this trust. So we've completely revised the way that we report incidents, the way
is that we... PCREF? Is that PCREF?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay.
It is,
yes. What it was. Okay, thank you.
And in regards to your second comment,
page 61.
I will look into that for you. I don't have that in that order here, so I will have a look into that, Tom, and I'll get that answer to you separately.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Ros.
Thanks, Liz. It was helpful having a few slides with key points, because the whole report is so lengthy. It's really good having you pick out a few key points. Just a couple of quick queries. You mentioned about issues that come from the CQC, but there's no detail about what those are. I just wondered, do you see different issues arising from the CQC compared to what comes directly to the trust? And are there any trends that you've identified from that? And secondly, with regards to the 194 queries that are not related to the trust, is some of that related to people just not understanding the system and who provides what services? So you're getting queries that should have gone to the Royal Berks, etc. And what's being done to try and reduce that? Because obviously that has an impact on your workload and the team's workload. And obviously, if people can go in the first place directly to where they should be, it would benefit everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, Ros. In regards to the CQC complaints, they were all in regards to detained patients. The patients were very unwell when they went to the CQC, and obviously we still investigate and will respond to concerns that are raised. There were no themes that came out of these three that were raised, but they were all for detained patients. In regards to the PALS non-BHFT, this has been an upward struggle. I'm not going to lie to you. If you type in NHS, Berkshire and PALS, you get us in Google. A lot of them are the Royal Berks. We also get Wexham. We monitor them, and I speak to my counterparts in the other organisations, and I give them the data and say, look, can you please have a look at your own website? We'll have a look at ours, but can you please have a look at the information that you're signposting people to? We did have a case a little while ago in one of the sites where we have shared services, where we found out that the eye clinic for the Royal Berks had our learning from experience posters up. So we were getting an influx of concerns. And when we said, you know, where are you getting this information? Well, it's on a poster. So one of my team actually went and did a visit and took the poster down and said to the staff there, can you please not use this poster? It's not helpful. And I obviously fed that back to the Royal Berks. In addition, I've had a conversation with Chris, who is a member of our automated intelligence team, to see if there's something around AI that we can do, because it is labour intensive. Because like I said, I do very, very strongly operate on a no wrong door process when people contact us, but it does take time. We have templates of contact details and things like that. But if we can work with some kind of, you know, intelligent automation to make this even easier, then that would be great. So that's something we're exploring at the moment.
Thanks. Obviously an ongoing piece of work. Good luck.
Definitely. Thank you. If anyone has any suggestions, please feel free to send them my way.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Liz, thanks so much. An excellent presentation, excellent response to questions. So thank you indeed.
Thank you.
We have to move on. Julian, we've got the performance report and the annual planner page. I assume
Thanks,
you want
Martin.
to take it as read, or do you want to highlight some things? And
good morning, everybody. Take it as read.
okay, so any questions for Julian on the performance report? Tom Lake.
Thank you, Julian. A couple of things. Firstly, on the on sort of capital spend, it says there's some things that are within and without the limit. So I think it'd be interesting to know what is without the limit. But the second thing is that I'd noticed somewhere in the quality report.
Let's do that one first, Tom, because it'd be
yeah, okay.
So we can get everybody on the same page. So that's the financial bit, is it?
Yeah, 93. 93.
What page, Tom?
93.
Let's have a look at 93.
On the right-hand side, capital.
Yeah, okay. So you can see from the box next to it, we're not short of cash in the bank. Okay, so there's 52.5 million. And in fact, we've got cash in the bank that's earning interest, which in relation to the box one is an explanation of why actually our financial position is better, because we've earned interest on it. So there's a connectivity here. So in that third box, you say, what the hell, what's this limit you've got? Now, in the old day, a foundation trust could, create a surplus, put the cash in the bank and invest in its strategic priorities as it saw fit. There is now foundation trusts have been brought into the what's called CDAL, the acronym, and it's a Treasury imposed departmental spending limit. So the amount of capital that can be spent within the NHS as a whole is set at a figure globally. That then has been apportioned to each integrated care board, so that actually when it adds up, it stays within the Treasury set limits. So we have a limit that is a subset of our ICB about how much we can spend, which is nothing to do with our financial metrics. It is to do with the Treasury imposed limit. However, that only relates to things that are on balance sheet. PFI hospitals, as you know, were created so they were off government balance sheet, so that we can spend money improving our PFIs with the cash that we have that does not impact the CDAL limit. Is that explanation reasonably clear, or is it too technocratic? Because I can't do any better than that, I'm afraid.
No, that's
the best
terrific.
I've got.
That's really helpful. So I mean, it says that the good financial cash position could be used in the PFI area. That's very helpful indeed.
Well, it is, really... Tom. I mean, but it is a huge frustration for us, isn't it? A very successful trust that manages to manage its money. We have some shoddy buildings, and we have more technology that we could invest in order to improve the patient experience and our productivity, and we are held back by that CDAL limit. There's no question about it. But as you say, we're not constrained at Prospect Park, and that building consumes more of our sort of capital spend than anywhere else. So at least we're free, particularly to make the safety improvements of pre-PH. So that is a relief.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed. Then there was something else I picked up, that weekly carer clinics have been resumed at PPH. So I don't think we knew much about this either before or afterwards, that they weren't happening, and now that they are happening. It was mentioned in a sort of notes on one of the complaints in the detailed report on current complaints. But I think it would be, I think it's an admirable thing, and I think we were perhaps a bit alarmed as to know that something is it still sort of post-COVID recovery. I mean, it was resumed in response to a complaint. I think it was the management was alerted to it, but I think it's an admirable thing.
Sorry, is that in the complaint section, is it, Tom?
Well, it's way down. It's way down in the notes on one of the complaints, page 78. If you want to go to it. Sorry, I haven't got the complaint number, but it's a complaint with a whole lot of actions against it.
Okay. If you're happy we resolve something, I can see page 78. There's a heck of a lot of detail there, and I'm inclined to avoid going down that rabbit hole. If that's all right at this moment.
Yeah, it's the top. It's the top action actually on the bottom complaint. The very first action there, but it's just saying re-established of these clinics, which sound really quite important.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Tom O'Kane.
This is a question that was asked this morning, with basically about the redevelopment of Upton and what was the impact going to be on us. Of the Upton site, Frimley are building on it again, building a summer hospital. Yeah.
Frimley are on the Upton site at the back of the derelict building. They are putting a community diagnostic hub on the site, which will be great. So at the moment, I mean, you know, Slough, Upton's right in the centre of Slough. You know, the main acute hospital, to all intents and purposes, actually sits in South Buckinghamshire, but the line was drawn in it, so East Berkshire would have a hospital. So it's actually, you know, a bit out of the way of the central Slough, so that actually to have a place where people can get diagnostic tests in effectively a cold site in Slough, the area of Berkshire with the greatest level of deprivation, is a really good thing, so that it will help our patients, members of the public, Frimley patients, increase the diagnostic capability. And you think about the backlog there, which is good. It will improve access, and for our services on site, for example, any services on site that request a diagnostic, like the ARC clinic, those patients have to get transport up to Wexham Park, maybe for an X-ray or a scan. In future, they will just stay on the same site and be able to have it. So it's a really good thing, and it's using and developing a derelict bit of the site. So it's really good.
Thanks, Julian.
Okay, and then the other item was the annual plan of the page, which is on our page 107 in the pack. Any questions for Julian? Tom? Tom Lake?
Sorry, just to come back to this, I made a service visit to Kremel Road in Reading. This is one of the sites. I thought the working conditions seemed very sad. Really, it did seem to be very tired and not very nice working conditions or leisure area, you know. So I don't know if there's any board members have had a look lately or whatever it is, but I thought it really was a bit sad.
Yeah. It's sad, but not our worst. We've got an opportunity in Reading, which we're exploring to see if we can consolidate onto better sites. So if you think about the last sort of 5 years, we had more individual offices and clinical sites in Reading than anywhere else. And the reason for that is that we were just talking about Slough with the community hospital, or Maidenhead with the community. Reading has not got a community hospital, so over the years a number of solutions have evolved, which have been substandard. Kremel is sort of, I'd say, as you say, tired, probably just about acceptable. We've got some worse as a priority, but we're certainly looking to see whether we can consolidate that in the same way, Tom, as we did on the Reading University site, where we actually consolidated 4 or 5, 6 services onto a splendid campus site. We'll be looking to do the same. But fortunately, you understand the context of this, because you asked a very clever question about capital. So you know what the rate limiting factor here is our access to be able in any one year to be able to deploy the amount of capital we would otherwise like to be able to do. So that if we had freedom to do that, we probably would not be in Kremel.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julian. Very comprehensive. Right, item 8 and 9, I was going to just wrap them together really and ask governors if there are any issues they wish to raise of a general nature before we move on. Right. Okay. So the date of the next meeting, so the joint board with the Council of Governors 8th of May and the formal council on the 12th of June. So we'll now adopt our normal resolution to exclude members of the press and public for the remainder of the meeting, as we now have to move into a confidential session. So I can't remember, do we have a separate team